The Under the Hood Show is heard weekly on this and other great radio stations across the U.S. Find out how you can participate in the show by visiting underthehoodshow.com.
With Russ Evans, this is Shannon Nordstrom, thanking you for tuning in to the Nordstrom's Under the Hood Show. Have a great day, and remember, PTLA.
The opinions heard on this program, based on the many years of experience of Russ and Shannon, are offered for entertainment value only and as a guide to your repair needs. No claim to repair or cause is given or implied. Always consult with your own certified technician and follow all safety procedures before attempting any repair. To be a part of the show, call 866-594-4150. Under the Hood is produced by Prairie House Productions. All content is the property of Nordstrom's Automotive Incorporated and may not be used without our permission. Copyright Nordstrom's Automotive, Inc. Now, let's go under the hood with the Nordstrom's Motor Medics.
Welcome to the Under the Hood Show. We are glad to have you with us. Russ Evans is here to answer your automotive questions.
Thanks for joining us under the hood.
Shannon Nordstrom is here to do the same.
Welcome, hoodies. Thanks for tuning in so we can help you tune up.
I'm Chris Carter here to answer your calls at 866-594-4150. 866-594-4150. Anything you quickly need to get to before we start taking calls?
Not a whole lot. I mean, there was some national news about some of that emission stuff that actually didn't think it was going to get finalized, but it just did. Yesterday it came up, so we'll see what happens. But I think I'm subscribing
I haven't read it yet, Russ.
I'm just subscribing to the Chris Carter school of thought that, they put it there, but will it happen? We'll see.
Listen, exactly what I said, and I don't get to say this very often in my entire life, so let me say it right now.
That's right.
Exactly what I said would happen, happened. They finalized the deal, but they pushed it back a few years. This is the current administration pushed it back a few years and allowed hybrids to be part of the solution now in that decision making. And they as happens in politics every time, they pushed it back far enough for someone else to change it before it has to be finalized, and it can be adjusted once they get out there. Does that make sense?
It'll switch back and forth a bunch more times yet.
That sounds about the headlines that I read and piece in between what I saw. That sounds about right. You've apparently read a little bit of it?
No, I got about as far as you.
That's hilarious. You sold that so good.
I'm going to copy them and claim victory on every side.
Oh,
everybody.
Russ, did you read a little bit more about it?
I read the whole thing. I spent about an hour going through, and I just went, "Oh, same thing."
But yeah, that's pretty. I did
same thing. Nothing's really changed. It's just here we go. We finalized.
But adding in the hybrid thing is an interesting twist because that's something that we brought up on the show.
Yeah.
The bottom line of it was just said things have to be this much cleaner, this many tons by this date, and it didn't really outline exactly how. If you could do it with a purely gasoline car, you're fine. And the oil industry was super opposed to it as normal. Why not? You're selling a product.
Just one of the rebuttals I saw on a national news program this morning when I was exercising was that they were saying that it was
humble brag.
No, I don't sit and watch the news in the morning except for then.
That's fair. Okay.
Yeah, it was. But no, they were just talking about this ruling by the EPA that they finalized. Is that what we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Was kind of counter to some of the things that were told to the unions when they were up talking during negotiations. Right. And so it was kind of like, we're telling you one thing over here, and now this is just a little different over here. Yes, we are still going to continue to ratchet this up.
I believe those people watch TV.
Yeah, so this is going to be interesting. But
ironically, I read the news instead of exercising.
That's working itself.
Yeah.
That's a humble brag.
And
did you hold it in your hand or with a paper, or was it?
No, it was electronic.
Okay.
He's got the strongest eyeballs ever.
It wasn't in my hand, though. And just to go back, we have talked about this in the past real quickly. In politics, in lobbying, you often hear the last thing that was told to the politician. You go into a politician, you lobby with your group, they say, that's a great idea, and then you see who comes next because it's usually the last one in is the one that they end up saying
depending
to the public.
Depending on the issue.
Yeah.
If you're old enough and you've been around long enough, think back as far as you can think back and think if you can remember anything that stayed the same from the beginning to the end ever. Yeah, I can't. It seems like I can't even remember what those things were. There were so many changes and things. So we see it when we see it.
866-594-4150. Let's go to Minnesota and talk to Mike. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Mike, what can we do for you?
Yeah, morning, guys. I've got a 70 Ford truck with a 361. Motor's been completely rebuilt. I fired it up, and I was getting steam out of the exhaust on the left side. I pulled the head off. Well, before I did that, I was going to pressure check the cylinders, but number 6 cylinder, second from the front, was pushed out some antifreeze, so I figured that had to be the problem. I took the head off. Couldn't see anything on the gasket or on the head. I had the head pressure tested, and it tested good. And I see nothing in the cylinder wall. I'm kind of at a loss what my problem could be, where it could be getting into that cylinder. And also the gaskets that are used, if I put it back together, is it okay to use like a copper spray on top of the gaskets, or should I try something else? Or I'm just kind of at a loss as to what my issue is here.
I'd like to ask you,
any ideas?
well, before we get into the problem too deep, I just want to clear something up because I want to make sure, what kind of Ford truck is this?
It's the F750.
Yeah, so that 361 is a truck engine. And so when you said that, all our call screener gets up there, it says 70 Ford truck. So our first impression, I'm guessing Russ's was too, that this is like an F-150, 250, 350.
Jilly said 361.
Yeah, then all of a sudden, just for our listeners, I want to clarify it's just a different engine that they use in too. Did you, Chris? That they use in their truck stuff. But they're based off a lot of the same architecture. A lot of them are, but
Very, very close, just more industrial.
Yep.
But if you have an engine that's using coolant and you've narrowed it down to one cylinder, and you pull the head off, and the gasket surface looks good, the block is perfectly straight, the head is perfectly straight, then that pretty much narrows it down to a crack in a cylinder lining into the cooling system, or a crack in the head. In the cylinders, you can typically see those, and it usually comes from moisture that was in there and it froze, or the coolant wasn't strong enough and it froze and caused a crack, and it's usually pretty noticeable. It'll change color, and I've seen a lot of breaks over the time that have happened that way, especially on classics like this. The older ones were pretty susceptible.
What does spark plug look like in that cylinder?
Well, as I said, it had been completely rebuilt, and you really couldn't notice much difference on the plug. They hadn't run that long. Maybe that cylinder's plug was a little bit cleaner on it, and that's about, it's just kind of hard to nail down.
You had said you had steam. How much coolant were you losing? Or give us a degree of how bad this was.
Well, it seemed fairly severe. I mean, as far as going down in the radiator, I hadn't run it that long, but the steam coming out of the exhaust, it started to drip out of the steam from the muffler to the tailpipe, between there.
On just one side?
And the other side was good.
Okay, because now this can come from a couple things. It can come from a mixture problem. Does it have a single barrel carburetor on it, or does it have a dual, two sides?
It's 2-barrel.
Okay, because if it's a 2-barrel on there, then it is possible that one side has a mixture problem and it was condensation on one side. Because you'll get, at the right mixtures and the right temperatures, you'll get condensation and your exhaust will drip pretty heavily. So that is a possibility. The only way to know would be as if you ran it long enough to find out if you actually lost coolant. But what I was thinking is, when I was going along the lines of a crack in a cylinder liner, if that looks okay, it's probably, and everything's smooth and your intake manifold is sealed up, there's no gasket leak there, it's probably coming from a crack in that head, and it's probably a very small, fine crack, and when it gets hot, it opens up just enough to leak a little bit. And that is a spot that K-Seal would be a good fix for. K-Seal's our partner, and if you've heard us talk on some of the spots we've done for them, they've talked about using K-Seal to fix a very expensive Bugatti, and the reason for that is you can't find a head for it, and it's not repairable with welding or anything like that because it's deep inside the head and there's no way to access that. So they put the K-Seal in and made a permanent fix for it. So that could be an option for this, especially in this kind of truck. So if you completely inspect it and make sure that thing's as 100% as you can get it, and you fully assemble it and don't see anything mechanically wrong with it, but you still have that minor leak, put the K-Seal in it and run it. Just follow the directions on it, and we're talking about it like a $30 fix instead of a, whatever it could be to find another.
Would you run it with clear water first?
No.
Nope. You put it just right in with your normal mixture.
Yeah, we use the Peak antifreeze. They're a partner of ours, and it will come pre-mixed 50-50, and you just fill it completely up with that, leave enough room for a full bottle of the K-Seal, put the K-Seal in it, and then top it off so that radiator's full, and then drive it. I just hop in it and enjoy it a little bit. Drive it around, and you'll
take it on a long road trip.
Yeah, if you can run it for probably an hour of just normal driving, not super aggressive, but just normal driving to warm it up and let the temperatures change with the fan and the air moving and stuff.
That'll be the most expensive part of the fix is
the
driving
gas.
it for an hour.
Yeah, and that should seal it up.
If that seals it up, I'm going to be so sad for you that
you took it apart?
Yeah, because I would have tried that first if you'd kind of looked at everything. But he really doesn't know, though, until he gets in there and sees that cylinder's in good shape.
On a vehicle like this, I probably would have taken it back apart.
Yeah, because it's easy to take apart in a sense.
It's not like a 5.4 or something like that with dual overhead cams. It's just, let's take it down and look and see, make sure something wasn't missed.
Yeah, you should be able to drop that cylinder all the way down and give a good inspection of that cylinder wall all the way to the...
It will change colors if it's cracked.
Mike, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4150. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you on the Under the Hood Show.
Find out how you can participate in the show by visiting underthehoodshow.com.
866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. Now let's talk to Timothy in Virginia. Timothy, you're on the Under the Hood Show. What can we do for you?
Yes, I got a 09 Silverado, and on the dash it says engine hot, AC turned off, and it started happening like 2 years ago. Then it completely stopped, and then it started doing it again recently, and I unplugged the battery to get it to stop it, turn my AC back on. And then it happens again, like maybe a day, maybe a week. This happens, every once in a while.
There's a coolant temp sensor
What can I do to stop that?
on the engine.
I can feel his frustration.
Oh yeah,
You can hear it.
So we see this often enough. We see it on the Silverado trucks. We see it on the 3.5 engine, the 3.6 engine in the GM cars, and it's a pretty common thing. And almost every time, it comes down to one of two items, and typically it's the first one: the coolant temp sensor that's in the head on the engine, which sends the signal to the computer, which in turn sends it off to the body control module and the instrument cluster to give you that message. That temp sensor fails, but also the little pigtail connector on it, and you can get the connector and the sensor itself. They're both available together. If you buy a sensor, they're going to say, "Do you need the pigtail with it?" And we always replace those because we've found out the hard way. We put just a sensor in it, and then it comes back in a week or a day or a month, and they've got the same problem, and then you look like you didn't really fix it because there's more than just the sensor that's acting up. It's the little wiring harness that's not making a good connection. So you cut the wire off, you crimp it, you heat shrink it with a hair dryer or heat gun or something, and then you're fixed usually. That is the most common thing we see. The other one is the computer itself has had failure, but we replace like one computer for every 20 sensor and pigtails that we do.
When you talk about the pigtail, you mean like cutting the ribbon of wires off and seating them all back in in one
Yes.
piece, right?
We measure back
Yeah, because when you
6
talk
inches.
about that, I
cut it.
picture 40 wires and I picture 40 different connections.
This one doesn't
with
have 40 wires.
Okay.
This one has 2.
Oh, that's-
Some have as little as 1, and some have as many as 5
but they
in
all
certain
go
cars.
into that
But
gate together.
temp sensors, though, are going to be 2 or 3 wires. I
Okay.
don't think I've ever seen anything, on an American car more than 3. They had 4 on some of the old ones that used to control fans directly without a relay, but now they're going to be 2 or 3. But in this vehicle, you're going to have 2. It should be a yellow and black wire, green and black, whatever. Anyways, there are 2 wires and it plugs into the side there. And if you replace that sensor and that pigtail, that's where I'd start. And that's where most shops would direct you to in the first place as well. That is something you can do yourself. It's a pretty, as far as a DIY repair, it's probably a 2 out of 10 for difficulty, on the easy end being a 2. If you can cut a wire and crimp it with a pair of crimpers, you could go buy a pair of $20 crimpers, buy the sensor, buy the pigtail, and put it on yourself and maybe a quart of antifreeze that you're going to lose, if you lose any. Don't take the radiator cap off when you pull the sensor, and the vacuum suction, if its engine's cold, will probably hold the coolant in. It may just get a little drip, but if you pull the cap off, it's going to come out. But you could do all that yourself, whereas if you took it into a shop and had them just diagnose it to tell you what the problem was, it would probably cost you twice as much as the parts and the tools to do it, just for a diagnosis. So you could just...
That's one where it's worth it.
Yeah,
Give it a try.
worth it to try it.
$2.
Yeah, so it's worth it to try it yourself. I think the pigtail, the sensor, and the crimpers are probably going to run you $80 for everything. So if you did that yourself and a diagnosis was, let's say, $150 somewhere, well, at least you've eliminated this problem, which, if it's not a problem now, could definitely become a problem in the future. So I would kind of lean that direction. The other thing is the computer. Now, that's a little more costly, but those are the only 2 items we've ever seen cause this issue.
Does that help you out there, Timothy?
Oh, so thermostat wouldn't do it?
No, unless it truly is getting hot. So if it's getting hot and you see the gauge have you seen the gauge go all the way to hot and had the engine boil?
No, it always stays at 210.
Okay, then that's perfect. That's where it should be.
And that's
But if that sensor has a glitch, so the computer sees it go from 210 to 240 or 260 and then right back again in just a half a second, it's not enough to move the gauge because the gauge has a slight delay, but it's enough to tell that computer there's a problem. Kick the light on, say engine hot, AC off, because it turns the AC off, turns the fan on high right away when there's a problem with that sensor.
Timothy, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. If I could go back in time and tell young me one thing but it has to be within no consequences of the timeline, it would be buy good crimping tools. Telephone, which I only needed for a few years and then it went away. Speaker wire, those things, they change your whole attitude towards do it yourself if you have the right crimping tool. And that's a good, I think that's a life lesson. You can take that metaphorically and expand on that
Russ would not crimp.
a lot. No?
I have a crimping tool.
You do? You wouldn't solder?
No.
Oh,
You
yeah, no.
You crimp certain. There's a place for soldering. There's a place for
I just
crimping.
didn't know if he was.
This one who
I
says
didn't know if he was going next level.
There's
on
some
it.
places no solder allowed because it'll change resistance.
That's
So
true.
it
I
has to
still
be-
think
that
of-
is true.
I still think of him saying, you can pop that thing out of the dash. There's only like 40 solder points. It's easy. I remember him saying that one. So yeah, I'm on your side a little bit there, Shannon.
I figured it was next level on all of them.
Let's go to Mississippi and talk to Terrell. Hey, Terrell, what's going on?
Yeah, how you doing?
Good.
That's to real.
Terrell.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, I still got that 2019 F-150 with that occasional shift flare. For the most part, it's all right, but intermittent, it flares up on me and everything. And I took it to the dealership and they couldn't find anything wrong. Apparently, they did something because it ran perfect after I got it back from it and started it back. And I was looking at a YouTube video and they said the dealership, they can disable adaptive learning on those things. Have you ever heard of that?
Well, it'll come back, but they probably disabled it and reset it, and then all the pressures were a little higher, and it worked fine until you drove it a little bit, and then it started relearning again. But they could do that as a diagnosis thing when they cleared the codes and turn off the adaptive learning, but not permanently. Now, they might have reflashed it too with an upgraded flash. It sounds like you might have a transmission starting to go out, but
he doesn't want to hear that,
no,
Russ.
But they might be able to fix that. It could be the valve body that's having a problem, so it could be fixed in the vehicle.
Something that's just not quite sequencing right because of a delay.
I would seek out a transmission shop that just does transmissions instead of the dealership on this one, and I bet they could fix it in the vehicle because that transmission is one of the least replaced that we sell.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the 10-speed automatic you have, right?
Right.
Yeah. And that's a joint venture tranny that they share with GM and others, and it's proven to be pretty good so far.
I'd go to a regular trans shop on that specializes in regular transmissions.
And that's almost the only next step to take on that.
Exactly, because it's a tough trans.
Terrell, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4150. This is the Under the Hood Show. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you. The Under the Hood Show is brought to you by Sturtevant's.
Make a radio appointment each week to hear the Nordstrom's Under the Hood Show.
866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. Don't forget you can watch the show on YouTube, and if you subscribe to our YouTube channel and join the Hoodie Fan Club at underthehoodshow.com, you could win a hoodie.
Like Craig Fisher, congratulations from all of us here at Under the Hood and our friends over at Universal Technical Institute. You can find them at uti.edu. And if you're looking to get in a career like marine mechanics, automotive mechanics, welding, CNC machinist, all sorts of stuff, even aircraft, airframe mechanic, that's the place to go. uti.edu. That's Universal Technical Institute.
I'm going to see if my daughter, after she's done with her semester down at Disney, maybe she can just switch right over and go to UTI.
Does she know what she wants to do yet? Has she picked a career?
Yeah.
The thing.
Yeah.
She's still in the thing?
Yeah. I think mechanics probably
How about automotive historian?
a better way for her to pay back her school loans. I think her track is not going to be the most lucrative thing in the world.
Will she be happy?
I can't imagine.
Does she listen to this show?
No.
No. She has.
She has, yeah.
Very rarely.
We've answered questions for
I
her
asked
roommate.
her.
Yeah.
I was like, what? Don't you listen to Dad? Well, I have.
That's
It
fair.
could be that's a career that she was thinking about that could be an amazing, exciting career if you were at one of the very few places in the country that
Right.
where it would be amazing and exciting. It wouldn't be amazing and exciting in Laverne, Minnesota or in Garrettson. No.
866-594-4150. Who wins the hoodie? Did we
Greg
say?
Greg Fisher.
Okay.
Greg Fisher wins the hoodie
I was lost
from
in
UTI.
imagining.
That's who the hoodie comes from.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Let's go to Colorado and talk to Robert. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Robert, what can we do for you?
Hey, good morning, gentlemen. Hope you all doing great. So I have a Kia Optima that keeps throwing codes that it's always the same code. And they're kind of like Cousin Eddie, comes and goes, doing nothing to it.
At the most inopportune
however,
times.
Exactly. And the other day I was delivering food and I throw my car into reverse because I drive a lot in reverse. At some of these cul-de-sacs, I drive like half a mile in reverse. I'm not going to turn around. It's really a lot of wear and tear on the front tires and the suspensions to make the 3-point turn. So and I'm going in reverse and she kind of popped out and revved up. And I'm like, okay, well, that's not good. And look at the dash. And when it, shows the park neutral reverse, the reverse light was flashing. So turn up the car, turn it back on, sure enough, check engine light comes on, and she was driving good in reverse, forward, everything. Real quick to AutoZone, run the code, and it came back neutral switch, high input. So that weekend I replaced it. As you disconnect the battery, the code goes away. I replaced the whatever part it was. She was fine for a couple thousand, 3,000-4,000 miles. She was good. And again, when I ran the code, it's always the same. EVAP system, which is Kia's notorious for, and the ABS switch, whatever it is, also notorious, always comes. But I replaced the purge valve and all the EVAP systems and the gas cap, and again, So if there's a check engine light, ABS and evap is always there. Now, yesterday I got that same check engine light again. I'm like, oh, okay, Cousin Eddie is back. So I ran to AutoZone, and it actually threw me a park neutral switch, which I replaced, evaporation system switch low input, through power steering pressure sensor low input, and electronic throttle system limp home valve circuit malfunction. So these are all that I'm getting. Even though I did a transmission flush like 2,000-3,000 miles ago, and I thought that meant maybe that was the transmission was acting up. I don't know. I think it's something bigger than all these codes are coming back again. But once I disconnect the battery, everything goes away, and I have like a few cycles, probably like 4,000 or 5,000 miles that I have nothing, and then they come back.
First of all, I want to jump in, Robert, and say you need to buy a code reader.
I think you're going to say he needs to buy a car.
Well, I'll leave that to you. And it not the lowest level of code reader, but the second level at least.
Yeah, like a couple $100 Bluetooth one that can scan that car and everything, so you don't have to keep going in.
Right.
You can just reset the codes yourself every 4,000 miles.
Fixed.
Done.
Or disconnect the battery, so that does the trick.
Well, that'll do it too.
Yeah.
It's you probably, so when you have a failure in one system, it can cause codes in other systems. It could even give you that throttle code when you have a transmission code. So you may have a transmission that's starting to fail. It's starting to slip a little bit, just enough that it adds up, and then boop, turns the light on. You disconnect that battery and reset it. The adapters move back. The pressures are higher, and then as they start easing off to try to make it shift smoother, it slips again and gives you a code.
The popping out of reverse and blinking.
That's bad.
a bad one, right?
That's a bad one.
No need a code reader for that one.
No, and then the blinking means that it set a hard code in that transmission, and it's flashing the light saying, we had a problem. That's a check engine light for your transmission. Yeah. And that's what I'd be concerned with. How many miles are on that Kia?
280.
280. I'm shocked that the transmission is still operating at all in that. Now, I know you've put a lot of miles on it because of the use you're using it for in your job. So that's why it's lasted longer. But in our shop, for the everyday driver, we see that as about at the maximum, about 190, 200,000 mile transmission. We have customers like that, but we also see them with 100,000 that have
So,
fit.
Russ, are you encouraging people to regularly speed backwards down a cul-de-sac?
No.
Because, I mean, you said the way he drives it.
He drives it as a delivery car.
There you go.
To me, that's
it's warmed up fully.
It's
longer
always
I
warm.
do drive it like I stole it.
Yeah. If you're driving it like Jim Carrey,
He's
like a glove, then no.
That's exactly it.
That's kind of what I
She
pictured.
does on slips though, so I take it 80 mile an hour on the interstate long, and in the reverse I probably cruise at like 30. It doesn't slip at all, and the fluid comes out because I change it every 20,000. Fluid comes out pretty good, not burn at all. Has that pinkish reddish tint to it.
That's changing it.
Yeah, that's probably overchanging it.
Well, I don't. Yeah, with the miles you put on it, probably, but it's definitely been keeping it up. That's a drain and fill one. So
Yeah, 20,000 miles, that's pretty frequent. I think you could push that back
Especially
a little
with
bit.
a lot of...
Yeah, well, he's got 280 on it. He did good.
I'm finding
That's 24 flushes and fills.
Yeah.
I don't, when you say it popped, one more thing on this, because I'm generally intrigued by this whole operation. When you are backing up rapidly at 30, but very good backing, I'm guessing you're going perfectly straight.
Got practice.
Have you ever, so did you ever slip it where you jammed the transmission hard? Just by accident?
No.
Okay. I just
And
wanted to make
again,
sure
it
that it
happened
hadn't
once
twisted a
and never
shaft a
happened.
little bit in there or something, or?
Mm-hmm.
I just think
it just, again, it happened only once, yeah.
Yeah, the driving in reverse, I don't believe has any effect on this problem you're having. I think it was just going to happen no matter what. The backing up that often, it's the transmission doesn't care. It doesn't know either way.
Is this a Ferris Bueller thing? Would he have 300,000 miles if he wouldn't have backed up that much?
Yeah, is it how many miles are you backing up to? Are you affecting the odometer?
Typically, modern cars with an electronic pulse speedometer register miles in reverse and forward the same direction.
I thought that's what it was, but I couldn't resist the joke.
I didn't know that.
With the gear, with the cable, yeah, they used to. There were a few over the years that would turn backwards, but most of them would not.
57 Plymouth Furies. Those were big on
I don't know if the Ferrari Dino would actually take miles off if you put it in reverse. Because didn't that one, when they had it up on the jack stand, it never did go back up, did it? That's why he kicked it off the jack stand.
No. He kicked it off the jack stand because he was mad at life.
Yeah, because he looked at the speedometer.
I'd have to go back and look at that.
And it was running in reverse, and they looked and went, it's not going backwards.
I'm not even going to question whether I'm remembering this right compared to you.
Right. Does that help you out, Robert? Do you feel a little bit better, or do you feel worse?
A little bit both.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's kind of how I feel too.
I don't know that we really answered everything for him. We just talked about it a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Budget for another car.
Yeah, you've got your use out of this one. I think you should be proud. An 09 Optima with 300,000 miles on it is
Robert Berry with the Kia. You remember he was delivering pizzas with that thing, and he pushed 300, I think, before it gave up.
It's an achievement. You've done well.
Oh, that's a good car for delivery.
Unplug the battery and get bonus miles. You'll be at 350 before you know it.
And start budgeting and planning. Just don't do anything yet. Just pretend you did, and just start saving that money up. That's what.
I'd stop flushing the tranny and put that money into my car account.
And just keep it going for now. Robert, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4150. Let's talk to Joe. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Joe, what can we do for you?
Got an 06 Dodge Magnum. When I step on the gas, it makes a whining noise. The lights get brighter. I let off the gas, the lights get dimmer. I put a tester on the battery, tested out a little over 12, accelerate with the tester on the battery, and brings it up to about 14. And it messes with the radio and makes kind of a whine-in noise as well.
Sounds like that alternator's failing on it. It's computer controlled. It adjusts the voltage and the charging amperage automatically, electronically. But if the alternator itself is failing inside that field as it fails, it can't be controlled.
It's leaking.
Yeah, it just can't do it. So the computer says, voltage is too low. Let's increase it, and then it's at full field, and then it's too much, and then it drops it down, and it thinks if I drop it a few points, it'll drop to a normal level, but it drops all the way down and won't charge, so it's too low, and then it goes too high, and it's going back and forth. And the whining you're hearing could either come from noise that's being introduced into the radio, if you've got the radio on, and that's where you're hearing it. But if it's coming from under the hood, then it's bearings and that. But if you're hearing a whining inside, if you've got both, then it's definitely an alternator issue. Yeah. You're hearing the current. There's an inductive noise that's induced in there through the wiring, and then you've also got the radiated noise from it. So it sounds like your alternator has just failed, and that's a super tough alternator. We don't sell many of them because they're tough. So I would be super confident.
I work for a parts store, so.
Yeah, well, you could do that, or you could pick up a used one.
I work for a parts store, so I can get a discount.
Okay. Well,
with my discount, it's better. I just get a new one.
It might actually be, and that one, since we see so many of them, we sell so very few. I think we've only put on maybe one that I can think of in the last 5 years in that Dodge product, so it's probably pretty cheap. Usually, if they don't sell many of them, the prices are low.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen.
You bet.
Appreciate it.
Joe, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you.
Free car advice. Now that's something new. This is Under the Hood.
866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. Let's talk to Mike. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Mike, what can we do for you?
Hey, good morning, guys. I just recently bought a 2015 GMC Sierra Denali, heated and cooled leather seats. The driver's seat, the bottom, their seat part doesn't work on heat, but the back heats, and the cool actually works on both the bottom and the back. How hard is it to fix? and do you have to buy like OEM parts to fix it, or is it you buy aftermarket ones cheaper? What do you think?
There are some aftermarket heaters available. I believe that Dorman Products carries some of the seat heaters.
One of our partners.
Yeah. So if you can,
the Element probably. Or?
Yes. Yeah. More than likely, because there's a temp sensor built into there. And then some of them use the actual sensor. Some of them which is part of the seat heater, or they use the resistance of the wiring in there. And as that changes, as the temperature increases and the resistance changes, then they use that to meter it. So if that thing fails, it's not going to operate at all. And sometimes it'll shut the whole seat down. Heating, cooling, everything. The module says, turn it off. But in your case, it sounds like something broke in there, and the strategy of that one is to just shut that portion off. We use a little infrared heat gun to see if all of it's dead or if just most of it, and there's one little corner that's still working, and that's why it hasn't shut the rest of the seat down yet. But to replace that, you've got two options: aftermarket if it's available, or if you need to do a factory one, they're not too bad. I just had to replace both of the upper portions, which also required me to remove the lower on a 21 Yukon because of the airbag where they tear through the seat when they go off. And I replaced both of the backs while they were still bolted in the car, and took the bottoms off to do the back so I could feed the Velcro around and strap it. And it took me about 40 minutes per seat, and I hadn't worked on that model yet. And it took me, the only tool I used was a little hook tool to pull down the zipper because it's so tight you couldn't just pull it with your hand. So I put the hook through the zipper and I squeezed it together while I pulled it down and zipped it on. So it's basically, once you take this cushion off, you unplug it, you plug the new one in, slip it down there, hook the Velcro straps up, zip the zipper down, and boom, it's together again. So you'll get a new cushion and a new heater if you buy this thing from GM. They're available, different price points. I know one of our guys at our shop just wanted one for an 04 Tahoe, and he picked them up aftermarket, like $180, I think, for the base cushion, and the back cushion was not too much more. So he got the whole thing. Plus, he got a new cushion.
I'd be curious what they want for that 14 to 19 style seat. But if
21, brand new at the dealer,
wasn't bad.
The back cushion, I think, was $240 for the whole thing. That was the brand new cover with the heater and everything in it. And the bottom one was like $190. So I thought that was a fair price compared to what they used to be.
Some of them are integrated into the foam, some of them are integrated into the cover, and some of them are a separate element that lays down in there. So I would definitely recommend jumping on a YouTube video. I would be so surprised if there isn't, but make sure you're looking for the right generation. It's that 14, newer 14, not the classic, up to 19 generation. And whether it's a Silverado or a Sierra, it's going to have a similar methodology on how they do that.
Does that help you out on that one, Mike?
Yeah. That's pretty good. And I did have one other problem on it too. This sliding rear window defrost doesn't work. And I hear that sounds like everybody has that problem. Wires, because of the sliding part, the electric sliding.
Yep, they break in there, and the only repair that they have available so far is the entire unit, because they don't sell that section separately.
Oh,
so most people just leave it. They don't fix it, because it's expensive. They just say, well, I'll just clear it off, and it's a back window. If it was a lot more important window, it would probably get like a front or something that had that type of defrost. They'd want to do it, but on the back, I don't know.
Yeah, you can, if you have like the tinted sliding, those windows new can be $1,000, and we got people that'll buy recycled ones from us. We've got a tool to get them out, and we sell them, but they're still usually $150 to $300, and there's some of these that are $500 even used. So
there's people that never open the slider. So if you don't ever open the slider and you replace it, it'll probably last forever almost. But if you're using it all the time, we do have customers that are, every time they get in it, they open the rear window and not the side ones, and they leave it open and then they close it. So it's moving, and that's a lot of. If you do that every day, we're talking probably 400 or 500 times a year. Because if you drive even 360 days a year with it, and you're opening and closing, you're gonna. It's a lot of movement, a lot of bending of that wire.
And that's not always a smooth movement either. I mean, you're slamming it.
Yep.
Seems like, you're.
Well, this is electric.
This is your electric
Oh.
sliders.
Boy.
And,
Jeez,
if
you
my...
guys
You're thinking old school where you used to have the little plastic latch in
Yeah.
the middle and you'd use your
Slam it,
fingernails to
yeah.
get it apart.
I would open mine more if it was electric. I only open it when I need to put something through it. But if it was electric, I would.
I
open
forgot mine even opens.
Glad we were.
Because yours
around.
electric too, isn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah. So there you go. If Shannon's would be a perfect one to.
I got to go look at the switch and see if I even know how to do it.
Glad we weren't around when World War II was going on. We would not have been able to handle it. 866-594-4150. Let's talk to Josh. You're on the Under the Hood show. Josh, what can we do for you?
Hey guys, how you doing? I've got a 94 Jeep Grand Cherokee. I talked to you guys probably 2 or 3 weeks ago about the transmission and the adjustable bands and stuff. I think we discussed that. Same vehicle. What I've noticed here recently is I'll run it, I'll drive it, and I'll sit. And if I go, some hours later or the next day, the cab's filled with gas, fuel vapors. And if I'm not mistaken, that thing does not have an evap system on it per se. Can you speak to that and kind of help me through what could possibly be causing that fuel smell? Because it's pretty strong, and I don't know if it's coming from a vapor line or if it's coming from the tank itself, if the seal's bad on the pump or whatever.
It doesn't have, as far as I remember on those, because we didn't have to fix them. They didn't break, but it doesn't have an OBD2 type evap with a leak detection pump on it, which is the purge pump and all that. But it does have a canister and evaporative emission system that if it gets hot and it vents, it's going to vent and you're going to smell it. So if anything's loose under the hood or one of those lines is cracked, which was super common on those, that just the vapors would rot the lines and you get a hole in it. Yeah, on warmer days or when the engine's good and hot and the temps increase under there, you could smell that fuel, pretty raw fuel smell. So I would really just get the flashlight and look at the lines very closely and see if any of them are open, or check the vent check valve in there under the hood too. But that's a different kind of smell, the vapor versus raw gas. If you fill up a gas can for your lawnmower, that raw fuel is a different smell than the vapors you would smell from a purge system. They're just toned down. They're a little different.
Yeah. Well, and so what I've found with this Jeep, and I'm not really, and I understand some vehicles and makes and models have like a split year. They didn't have a split year in 94, but from 94 to 95, they added like a purge valve, the transmission cooler lines changed, just a lot of little things. And I can't seem to find parts for a 94 are a lot more difficult to come across than parts for a 95. And if you go to like a aftermarket parts store like AutoZone or something, and you say, hey, I got a 94 Jeep Grand Cherokee with a 4-liter, blah, 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 they'll find all these parts that,
don't fit.
Their system says interchange or match a 94, but they're really for a 95 and later.
Yeah, they came out with that Grand Cherokee in 93,
and
that 93, 94 was real similar.
The purge on the old 94 is basically a vacuum line from up by the throttle body that when you open the throttle body far enough, it allows it to pull vapors and it pulls it through the valve in the canister, whereas the 94 late and 95 and up with OBD2 has an electric valve that the computer tells to turn on. So it's still purging, it's just purging it a different way. So yeah, you'd have to look at older parts like a 93 compared to the new one, and they can be difficult when those switch.
Sounds like something you hear at midnight when there's a full moon. The old 94 comes steaming through. You can, if you listen real hard, you can still hear them scream it.
Keep going.
Ghosts.
Yeah. Keep it going, man.
That'll do it for this hour of the Under the Hood Show. 866-594-4150. That's our number for hour 2 coming up. While the music was going along there, we had Paul waiting patiently to stand by and get on the air. So let's go right to Paul. What can we do for you, Paul? You're on the Under the Hood Show.
I've got a 2018 Toyota Prius, and I can't readily figure out how to access I got a taillight out. How do I get to access that?
You pull it out. You got that. so you got, when you open the gate on the back, you've got that little side panel back there. And there's a little plastic panel on each side. And if I remember right, you can get to like one of the bulbs in there. I don't think you can get to all of them, but you got to take the nuts off and then pull the whole taillight out. The whole assembly just goes to the back, and it's pretty stiff because it's got clips on it. But
a lot of times they're clipped into the edge of the quarter panel with a clip, and it just doesn't feel like it's going to come out right away. But
yep, and a lot of cars have 2 screws, so you open the gate, and then you'll see the screws in the taillight, but just on the inside edge of it, you take those out, but then you got to grab the whole thing and kind of use the friction on the palm of your hand to pull it backwards as you're pulling on the inside, and then it'll just kind of go crack really loud and come out. And when it does, then you can
And if it goes crack really loud when it comes out, and then you also have a crack in the assembly, that means you didn't get all the screws out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that too.
Right.
But it's something that we do, like in our shop in like 3 or 4 minutes. Whereas if you're doing it at home, you might go, "Whoa, this looks a little. I don't know how I'm going to get this thing out of here the first time." But once you get it out of there,
What year was the next generation Prius?
Was it 21?
No. There's
they
got the newest one that just came out that I'm pretty happy about.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
And then they go back to.
I thought is the 18 new? Is that
like the one you're parked out in front of in the lineup of repairables out here? There's a new generation. There's the new generation and an old one generation. I think that's an 18.
Paul? Do you know which one it is? What we're referring?
I know what you're talking about. I don't know.
Because there's a chance
to go up through the.
Well, here's the question: does your Prius look pretty much like all the Priuses before it?
Older ones.
Well, there's an older version, but
I think he's got the one with the more chiseled
one.
He's got the one with the more chiseled lines on it.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, we've never worked on it. Maybe they got something different the way that taillight is, because there's a ridge body line that goes along the edge there.
If it's that new style, no, we've had.
Maybe there's something where the bumper cover comes up really high and hides something. But normally they make taillights, like Russ is saying, pretty easy to get at.
I have not had a car yet that I've had to pull a bumper cover to do a taillight on.
Now you got to pull headlights on front bumpers quite often.
Because of aerodynamics. They do that to cover up the lip.
Usually the taillights, you can get at an access panel inside the trunk, and then you'll be like, it's typically 10 millimeter nuts.
Or a Phillips screw.
Yep.
And I think like on mine, the access cover, I have a 13. The access cover that you use to get back there doesn't look like it's necessarily for that.
Right.
But it is. You kind of just have to reach right in.
It's a long way.
It's a bit of a.
Now the other question that you have to think about is:
does it have bulbs?
Does it not have bulbs at all? Is it an LED light?
If it's the new style, it doesn't have bulbs.
It might be an LED light, and you got to replace the whole assembly.
Yeah, because that newest style, I believe, is 100% LED.
Yeah, I was having the thought the same time you were after I asked what style it was, because they're just different. They changed quite a bit of stuff.
So I hope you got the older one so you can change bulbs. If you have a newer one, you could pick up a.
Do you think maybe by looking at it that it might be LEDs instead of bulbs?
It's not in view right now. I'm in the house, but when I looked at it, I thought, gosh, I'm going to have to go through the fender liner.
Then it's probably LED. But it's probably that new design.
Take a look at that real close, just an open mind, and open your trunk, open your hatch, and look inside there.
It's the next generation of
and there'll be an access panel, but that could be the question, is about whether or not there's replaceable bulbs, or if you got to buy the whole assembly. And if you got to buy the whole assembly, it's probably quite expensive from Toyota. Let not your heart be troubled. That's where our friends from Cardash Park come in, because somewhere in wherever you're at, within the orbit of where you're at geographically, somebody or multiple people are going to have that taillight for sale as a recycled used that is just as good as a brand new one, as long as it's guaranteed to work. And so you can replace that, because there are a few people online that are playing around with send in your taillight. They'll open them up. They'll fix the LED strips. That's out there, but as a rule, people are just buying and replacing them.
And they were pretty plentiful.
If it's LED.
Right. Paul, thanks very much for the call. That is we've had 2 now, and I've never had to replace anything on the rear. As far as front headlights, I've done 30.
A lot. Speaking of LEDs and front headlights,
I'm joking about 30, but only by like 5. I bet I've done more than a dozen headlights on my Priuses.
You get paid by Toyota to do any of them? Wasn't there a campaign on some of them?
Just one.
Just we found out too late.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So LEDs, we've talked for years about how annoying those bright LEDs that are illegal and aftermarket that are in these cars that aren't projector beams, how blinding they are. There's no excuse anymore because now there are several companies that make a LED high power replacement to go in the standard housing that has a sharp cutoff on it, just like a projector beam.
Really?
So you take that stupid bulb out that's blinding everybody, you people out there. I see you. You're driving towards me at work in the morning.
And Russ will say something.
Oh, yeah. I'm like, hey, bright lights on you. There you go. That's what you need. Now you need 2 high-speed tanks heading towards each other, both blinded, right? Yeah. So, but they make this bulb, and it's great. One of our guys in our shop just got them, and you put it in. It's just as simple as take yours out, put the new one in, and whoop, it cuts it off. You shine it on the wall, and it's a dark above, bright below, and it's a perfect LED, like a projector beam. Legal, they call them DOT legal LED bulbs replacements. So you get a much better field of vision. It's wider, it's brighter, but it doesn't blind anybody.
I wonder if they make them for an 09 Camry.
Oh, yeah.
I put in LED bulbs into my Prius. They're way brighter, and they have a hard cutoff. They do not shine on
Those
people.
are the DOT legal, the right ones, and they're much better because if
You think they're actually DOT legal? You think
they
wouldn't
say
got
it.
approved?
They say right on the package,
No.
you've got to buy the ones that say DOT approved, and they have a number.
I buy stuff that says lose weight.
Mine were $13.
These would be more.
So I don't think they would.
The ones you
but
got-
they still work. I mean, they still did it. So it's
They may have worked, but not for very long.
I talked to my eye doctor last time I was in. I asked him about the LEDs. I've told you this many times. The LED bulbs that people, they do not blind me at all. They don't affect me. You could be coming at me, high beams on, with the new LEDs, bright as can be, and they do not affect my vision at all. I can see just perfectly. That I never.
So what did
feel-
your eye
Lucky
doctor
you.
say about that?
He said he would look into it because he has never heard such a thing. He could not figure out why because I can, and the same with like bright flashlights. My son, when he was working security, had a super bright LED flashlight. It just did not.
The government may want you.
It didn't bother me.
Yeah.
I think
You
I'm a
could be on
super
s-
soldier.
Yes, special
Yeah.
forces of
Yeah.
some sort.
Probably. Well, I think
Bring in the non-blinding guy.
I think I could probably do that anyway.
Have you been abducted by aliens?
Twice.
Does your butt hurt?
866-594-4150. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we want to hear from you on the Under the Hood Show.
Guaranteed car repair advice or double your free back. This is Under the Hood.
866-594-4150. Let's talk to Reese. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Reese, what can we do for you?
Hey guys, love your show, listen a lot, and I've called in a few times. I got one, I thought I'd see what your opinion was.
Okay.
I have a 2006 GMC Sierra 1500, and just last night, the service 4-wheel drive dummy came up on the screen, and I noticed that the lights are out on the push buttons for the 4-wheel drive.
Did you have the thought of what day it was and that you realized the next day was the Under the Hood Show and you could just call?
Yeah,
Yeah,
the thought did cross my mind.
That's what I was hoping.
All
Good,
right.
good. I like that. All right, let's help him this time.
With no lights on, nothing's flashing, nothing weird on that 3-button. It's a 3-button controller, right?
Right. There's 4 buttons.
4
with
buttons.
Auto 4-wheel drive, then 2 high, 4 low. And yeah, there's usually a little light that's on next to the 2 high. And I noticed the lights are out on the whole thing. And when I'd push the 2 high, then it would ding a couple times and it'd bring up service 4WD again.
Well, the good thing is on that system in 06, it was not near as hard to figure out as the 07 and newers. I know the 07 and
Okay.
newers kind of drove people a little bit crazy because there'd be more wiring problems, and they brought in a little more technology with the networks that were in those vehicles, and it just made it
What
that
happened
much
to a
more,
lever? Clunk, clunk,
that
done.
much more confusing. But with the 06, what's the first thing you'd look at, Russ?
Probably if the lights were off, probably the module. If all the lights were dead, because
That's
if they're on and flashing, I'm thinking transfer case shift motor because that's telling the module what gear I'm in. But if I've got nothing, if they're all dead, probably, and it doesn't flash when you first turn the key on, it's probably that module. We've seen enough of those.
Yeah, and now, though, I was going to say though, with that system, you can scan that though and see.
Oh yeah, and if it's got no communication, our module's dead. Well, it could have blown the fuse. That's what you should look for. Go into the hood, pull the cover off, see if the fuse has blown for the 4-wheel drive under the hood fuse box on the driver's fender. Because if that fuse is blown, it'll also be dark, but it could have blown because the motor on the transfer case shorted and caused it to blow that fuse. So if you replace the fuse and it works perfectly for a little bit, it's likely blown and will blow again because that motor is stuck on the transfer case.
That's a high amperage draw.
And sometimes just putting a fuse in it and operating it a few times fixes the problem. I've got one customer that's been, I think, 2 or 3 years now since we just put a fuse in it and ran it back and forth. It blew it again after about 5 switches, put another fuse in it, and it's been fine ever since.
And that's one reason why we've often on the show encouraged people to engage their 4-wheel drive year-round every once in a while.
Yep. Just if you're thinking about it, going on the road and you go, oh, hey, look, 4 high, lick, 4 auto, done, back to 2-wheel drive. Just if you're thinking about it, doesn't hurt a thing.
Just run that little servo motor that's on the transfer case. It runs the little servo motor that's on the front differential. Just let that stuff get moved every once in a while. Can't hurt a thing.
Is there a threshold where you shouldn't do that after so many, like a parking brake?
No.
Okay.
You just turn it on, but you don't want to. If you keep switching it back and forth over and over and over as you drive, that's bad.
Did I have a snarky look when I said that?
I appreciate that attitude. Yeah.
Did I give you attitude with that answer?
Yeah.
Okay.
You did.
I apologize. No.
Does that help you out there, Reese?
Yes, sir. That definitely. I have a couple other quick questions for you if you got time.
Go ahead. Because of the Wednesday thing.
We have an issue with the horn, and it would work for a while and then it'd quit. So we found that the relay was bad. We replaced that, and then it went out again. And this time it was the fuse. Something must be setting that off. Is it shorting out up there maybe?
Possibly. It might be that the horn is drawing too many amps, and they get moisture in them, and there's just a little contactor inside, and if it gets corroded and not working right, it can pull too many amps and blow the fuse or burn the relay contacts. You might just think about picking up a couple used horns for it. There should be 2 in there or one assembly with 2 on it. And well, I tell you what, if you can't find hundreds of those in salvage yards, I would be shocked.
Yeah, I'd go to a self-service yard and go pluck off a couple horns for less than $20 probably, and less than 10 probably. I don't know.
Yeah.
They're not very expensive.
No, horns is not a real big seller.
But that's a good chance. But it could also be that you say if it's blowing the fuse, it's got to be that.
Yep.
Because the clock spring and the pad in the steering wheel, that won't blow a fuse.
Nope.
All right. Anything else quick before we?
You got a lot of blown fuse issues possibility here.
Yeah, starting to wonder if I got bigger problems.
Well, if the next one comes up with something else, we might revisit this call.
Climate control. I've replaced that whole unit once since I've owned this pickup. And, of course, the lights that light up the buttons are out on about half of them. I notice when I'm adjusting the temp in the morning, you turn it up, and it'll go up, and then it'll go back down. And you got to keep turning it. It goes back to 62, so you got to go back up. It gets up to 72, and then it drops back to 60. It's the weirdest thing. I don't know why it's doing that, but it's been doing it for a long time.
What's even worse than that is the old Fords. Remember them, Shannon, with the radio? Where you touch
the button would hold,
you touch the button, and then it would go all the way. No, the radio where it would go full volume.
Yes, exactly, full volume.
They'd come into our shop and we'd try to turn it down because it would be at a medium volume. We're like, this is too loud. So we tried to turn it down to go to full blast, and we couldn't get it to shut down. And then the customer like, you got my radio on full. No, you have your radio on full because the radio's broken. Same way with that temp control. What does he need to do?
Okay.
He just got to replace the temp control.
That'll fix it. That's the problem. The rheostat's bad inside of the temp control.
You've got, how many miles are on the truck?
172.
And if you've done 2 of those, you're not bad.
Reese, thanks very much.
Dorman makes one.
866-594-4150. Let's talk to Steve. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Steve, what can we do for you?
Yeah, good morning. I love your show. Got a 2014 Impala with an intermittent cruise control problem. It kicks off, and then I was a few miles from the gas station. I stopped, put gas in to start up, and then it worked again. It's happened for my daughter once, and then when I got in it, it started. Is that anything with computer or anything, the cruise control in that 2014 Impala?
Is this a classic 2014 Impala or the new generation 2014 Impala?
I don't know. I think it's limited. I don't know.
Does it look like a 06 Impala or does it look like a 2019 Impala?
No, it's a newer style. It's not like the 08.
Okay, so there's a lot more technology in that car than there was in the previous generation by a long shot.
Okay.
Because that car can be very feature rich. I mean, some of those Impalas, is it like an LTZ?
It's got auto braking and everything on it.
Yeah,
And that brake switch was super problematic on those, like meaning that we've replaced 5 or 6 of them.
The one up under the dash on the pedal assembly?
Yeah. Yeah.
That'd be a simple fix for him, though.
Yeah, you have to put it in, then you have to set it with the scanner. You have to adjust it.
No, he didn't want to hear that.
Yeah, you have to do an adjustment. Now, you can probably put it in and it may work flawlessly right away. But you may have to recalibrate it.
Is this a case where he can check that if the cruise control goes off?
The scanner, it will tell us what the last thing that shut it off was.
Okay.
Or are you going to think pulling back on the pedal?
Or on my car, pulling back on the pedal did not make a difference. But if the cruise won't engage and I tap the brake pedal, then try again, it works. So it's not pulling off on it. Yeah. So
that's the most likely culprit on that system?
Yeah. We've seen that in the Malibus. They all had that same switch, and they a lot of times they'd set a code. The code would be that it had a problem with the brake switch.
Because that cruise control in that particular car is all, and cars have been this way for a while, but you got an electronic throttle valve, and it's got the computer. They just run all the stuff through it, and they say, hey, I can control this, so it doesn't have separate mechanisms for cruise control. It's all integrated into the system, and then they're able to control the system. Does that make sense, Steve?
So if I'm getting it right, if I touch on the brake, it might reset it again.
Well, that's if you get lucky.
You
it's
can
just
try
something you can try. You can fiddle with the
Not
pedal.
permanently.
No, just fiddle with the pedal a little bit. And if you find that makes it work, either pulling back on it or pushing down a little bit and then trying again, that's a really good indication you got a problem with that switch.
Oh, okay, good. Well, I appreciate it.
Is this, just from my own curiosity, does this happen to be Steve Tice?
Yes, it is. And I've had the car in your shop that I've worked on in the past.
Yeah, I recognize your voice, and I hadn't talked to you for a while, and good to hear from you.
Yeah, I love your show. I'm working in the garage, and I listen to it, pretty regular. So thank you.
Thanks a lot.
You bet. Are you still just as a fast talker, hyper guy as you've always been?
Well, I'm in my mid-70s, so I am slowing down a little bit.
Oh, all right. I just always enjoyed you. You and I could keep a pretty fast pace on a conversation. I remember that.
Steve, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you on the Under the Hood Show. 866-594-4150. 866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. Don't forget, you can watch our show on our YouTube channel, and if you subscribe and join the Hoodie Fan Club at UnderTheHoodShow.com, you could win a hoodie.
Like Tony Wisniewski. Congratulations from our friends over at Universal Technical Institute. Find them at uti.edu and learn a new career you can be proud of.
866-594-4150. Let's talk to Ryan. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Ryan, what can we do for you?
Thank you for taking my call, gentlemen. Appreciate it. I've got a 2023 Chevy Equinox as a fleet vehicle, and maybe this is a complete nothing burger, so just let me know. But like if I'm at a red light and it turns green, I accelerate, the RPMs increase, and the transmission goes to shift from first to second. It seems like the only way I can describe this is like there's an air brake release kind of noise coming out of the right front area. And then as I continue to move from like second to third, it kind of spools up and then has that release again as soon as it changes gears. I've never had a vehicle make that noise. I'm just wondering if it's significant or not.
Is it a 1.5 turbo? 4-cylinder?
No, 6-cylinder, I believe.
It is a 6. Okay. If it's a 6, I have no explanation. If it's a 1.5 turbo, I have an explanation.
Let's give the 1.5 turbo explanation, because if it's a fleet, I doubt.
I'd love to hear it.
That's the standard engine for that, is the 1.5, is a small turbo. So one of our customers,
I don't even know if the 6-cylinder is available anymore.
It may be, I don't know. But all we've seen is the turbos now, and it was actually yesterday, car came in for an oil change, and went, they got a 1.5 turbo in that. I thought they had the 2.4 in there. And they're like, no, that's the 1.5 turbo.
They might even had a smaller turbo that they offered too.
1.4 and 1.5, I believe, but I think it's the 1.5 in that one. It's a little larger than the Cruise and all that. But so yeah, if it's the turbo, what's happening is as you accelerate, the turbo builds up, and then it shifts gears, and the blow-off valve opens up, and then it gets a load on it, and away it goes again. And it's perfectly normal if it's the turbo engine.
Chris was taking liberty to Google a little bit here on a 2023 Equinox.
It is not, what I'm seeing real quick.
What's the standard engine?
1.5
turbo
4-cylinder. Yeah.
Okay, so that would be, if it's a fleet vehicle, more than likely, if I'm going to go out and buy 10 of them, I'm going to get the 1.5 turbo, because that's going to be like your standard.
Yeah, you're going to
vehicle.
get you get probably 30 miles a gallon going down the highway.
That's probably fair. Yeah, something in that ballpark.
That's going to be a 1.5 turbo then. So what you're hearing is the turbo spooling up, which is normal. And you should hear that, because what you don't want to tell us is call the end of the hood show and say, it used to make this noise and now it doesn't, and I've lost power and mileage. Ooh, we don't want to hear that, because that's a problem.
Yeah, the manufacturers have leveraged turbo technology to give us a feel of power that we had from 6-cylinder and 8-cylinder engines with small displacement and higher fuel economy. And like I said, they've leveraged turbos heavily in the last 10 years.
So much power.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like, I'm looking through all the trims here, and it looks like they're all 1.5 turbos. 175 horsepower.
And that vehicle is fairly lightweight compared to most. We see a lot of those vehicles, and they have proven to be quite good. The people that we have one of our managers here, I know, has fixed a couple of them for repairables that he drives, and they've proven to be pretty dependable. And so I think you're just fine.
Ryan, thanks very much for the call. 866-594-4150. Let's go to Texas and talk to John. You're on the End of the Hood Show. John, what can we do for you?
Hey, good morning. How y'all doing?
Fantastic.
Good. Yeah, I have a 216 Chevy Colorado. About 15 to 20,000 miles ago, I put on new rotors and brakes. And the reason is that it was kind of loping whenever I was stopping and shaking a little bit. So they said my rotors were warped. So I took them in and they replaced them. And now it's all happening again. I mean, I do drive in Austin, Texas. There's a lot of stop and go traffic, but I've just never had this occur so quickly. In the past, I've had Chevrolet Silverados, and I've never had that problem.
How quickly did it occur?
Well, it's time-wise, it's been 2 years, but mileage-wise, it's been about 17,000 miles.
And did they replace them with factory General Motors rotors, or what did you use?
Well, I went to Firestone, so they I'm trying to find out what exactly they used, and I was going to ask them if maybe I needed to step it up and maybe do like a little higher performance rotor or something. I mean, because I do go up and down. I go down this road called Capitol Texas Highway, and it's very hilly, and on top of that, you have stop and go traffic. And I drive 19 miles each way every day.
I live there. I've been on that road many times, so I can see what you say. And then when you get out to the edge of the city there, you got a ton of hills and stop and go, and you're stopping quickly from a higher speed too on a lot of those where you get in the curves. So what happens when you go to a big box store? They usually have some options. They have their standard brand, which is typically in some places, well, not typically, just in some of them, their standard brand is a corporate line where they agree to purchase under contract, so, rotors from a company that makes a rotor. Here's a rotor. It's basic. It's not a General Motors rotor. It's not a Napa or AutoZone Duralast or Sturtevant's Prano part, anything like that. It's just your baseline rotor, kind of like what you get off of Amazon or something. And then they have a premium package that they often will do a lifetime warranty on against certain things. And depending on which one you get, they may last longer. They may say, well, 2 years is not too bad. Now it's time for brakes again. So it may be that when you build up this heat and you're stopping a lot, and then you get one of those quick rainstorms that moves through, and they cool off really quickly as you drive through a puddle or the rain.
All it takes is one event when they're really hot and you can warp them.
That can warp them, and then once they warp, they get worse. Like a gravel road that starts to get a few ruts in it, it really gets rutted quickly from all the cars beating down the grooves.
Washboarding.
So that could be what happened. Okay. So yeah, if you go back to one of your, like a Firestone or Lesh Schwab or Goodyear, one of those places down there, you could ask them what their packages are for different ones, because in that area you've got literally hundreds of shops you can go to find to get brakes done. So you can just ask them and ask around and look at online too at reviews from people and what they've had available at those different places. You don't necessarily need to get a brand new GM OEM rotor, but also places like us, an independent shop. If you go to one of those, you're supporting the person locally that you can guarantee 100% of that money is local in town and not a franchise where the franchise money's going to somebody else out of town. But they want to make sure you're coming back because you want more work done, not because you have a problem. So for us, we choose a rotor that hopefully we don't have to see again, because I want them coming back for more work, not because they've got a problem and they're unhappy with the brakes. Yeah. So yeah.
And some of those franchises, they're more of a marketing agreement, and then they have buying groups within their franchise.
There you go.
So it's still a locally owned store, but they're working off a corporate structure. It's just
you can ask for the premium.
Yeah, so they're all wired a little bit differently there. But I think a lot of them Firestone stores, I think, are locally owned, but they're corporately branded in methodology.
Locally owned franchise fee, I think.
Yeah. Yep.
So I need to find maybe something a little smaller shop.
Well, and I think Russ hit it right on the head. You talk to them about what their options are and compare it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because there's
to that Firestone guy.
Yeah, I would think that
they might have a premium.
They see a lot of that stuff.
Guessing they do.
But we've also seen at times where a place like that doesn't always give those options because people are looking for a price point, and they have the items available for a price point.
Well, when you go by and the sign says brakes and it's got, X amount of dollars up there, you're like, oh, that's a good price. So you go in, and I've done that. I've asked for that. And then I find out later that I had an option because they didn't tell me about the option, or they tell me about the option when I'm there. And I'm like, nah, I don't want to spend that.
And that's the biggest challenge people have, Russ, I think, is that they get caught between price point comparison and not understanding completely what the price point represents.
And walking in and saying, I want that, gives you one
well, we can do that.
Yeah.
And they will do it because that's what they're advertising. But they're all, I think most of the time, my friends I've talked to and people, Russ, you see people at the shop all the time, but I just, talking to friends that they will often use that as a lead to get you in. And then they'll say, well, we have those, but we also can do this for a little bit more, which will be a better quality.
Oil change, $19.95. Do you want an oil filter with that? What?
So, I mean, just anything. That's what we do on this show. We want to help educate people so you ask the right questions so you know what you're getting. And if that's what you choose to pay for, you're going to sometimes get that sort of result. And now if you have, there's times things just go weird too. You can have something where you got them one day, you were cooking a little further along and you got them kind of hot, and it was hot outside. And then, like Russ said, you had a big rainstorm come through, or you jumped into a car wash. Or
if he had been less than the 17,000 miles in 2 years, I'd be suspecting maybe a caliper sticking or a wheel bearing that's a little loose, or a brake hose. But because of that area and living there and knowing, I mean, you're kind of like, it's not as high in altitude as like Colorado Springs or something, but you got a lot of big hills and a lot of windy and stopping, and the speed limits are higher because they don't have the snow like we do in our area. So they've jacked up the speed limits on all these roads. So you're going fast to slow often,
And when he said quickly,
for it.
I did not expect him to say in 2 years. I was thinking he was going to say this happened like in a few months.
Right.
And so I think we're all on the same page here. You probably are due again, and you got to check your options.
John, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. I want to throw out a disclaimer on this one real quick, too.
Mm-hmm.
If you're just generally listening and you hear us talking about brakes and heat and water, don't think about it. Because I talked to someone once who had a situation where they had hot brakes. They were coming out of the mountains, actually. Got them wet, warped. And for 2 years later, he said something and he said, well, I didn't want to stop quick because I don't want to burn up brakes again. And I thought, you should not be thinking about saving your brakes if you need to use your brakes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, if you need your brakes, you need your brakes.
Right.
But that's where people that drive a lot more, they will oftentimes, and the newer cars will do it for you. They'll engine brake more than actual brakes, so you don't have to sit there and ride your brake pedal and get them warm.
I was just watching a study on something lately, and I came across other studies. You guys know what I'm talking about. Anyways, I noticed they said if you put something in front of me that's a reading, let's use brakes as an example. If you put up a sign or you hear it on the radio, like here, don't use the brakes because they could warp, your tendency to actually have that situation happen is like
enhanced
20% greater than if you didn't know about it. Like if you said, oh, today's going to be horrible, the weather's going to be really cold. Well, maybe it's 5 degrees warmer than yesterday, but you are going to think that it's colder.
Well,
Isn't that crazy?
It's no different than a drug company creating a problem you didn't know existed so they can sell you something for it.
Don't take this drug if you're allergic to this drug. Well, how do I know? I haven't taken it yet.
Mention to your doctor if you've had your arm amputated in the past. I think he knows. Yeah. 866-594-4150. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you on the Under the Hood Show.
Prepare to learn something. You're going under the hood.
866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. Let's go to Arizona and talk to Don. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Don, what can we do for you?
Yeah, guys, I got probably a pretty basic question, but rather safe than sorry when it comes to fuel. Working on a 51 Cadillac. Recently put airbag system on it, and the hard fuel line itself is really, really tight. And I mean, there's no wiggle room at all. So my question is, can I cut it, double flare it, and fill in like about a 15-inch gap with rubber fuel line and be safe?
Sure. As long as you use the right hose. Is this fuel injected or carbureted?
No, it's carbureted. It's got a 500 big block caddy in it.
Then you're fine. You can, depending on where it's at, it's the heat resistance you got to worry about. But sure, you can flare it, or even flare it in a couple places, just so you have something that when you put the clamp on won't allow it to slip off of the hose. And this is common. I mean, many cars have had for years. These classics have had a rubber line where the fuel pump connects to the line, or in the middle they had a split and had a rubber line to jump as it made a curve, and then up by the tank it's got another rubber line. So that's pretty common.
Your lawnmower has a rubber line?
Yeah. So as long as there's not a lot of heat that
would
damage it, you're fine. But if you wanted to, you could run a whole new line. If they make the bendable fuel lines, you could secure in there and run it further if you want to. Just don't use copper line or use any compression fittings in there. Put a hose on it, run it, but just make sure there's no way it can get abraded by anything, and you'll be fine. We've done that plenty of times and stuff.
Do you want to ask him any questions there, Shannon?
I'm thinking about whether or not
Berkeley One Classic. Yeah, that's a sweet ride.
51 Caddy. What kind of caddy?
It's a Series 62.
All right, and have you had this for a long time?
A few years now. Yeah, I've been working on it. I mean, it's through the 500 big block caddy motor in it, turbo trans. It's just a solid car. It is for the year. I mean, everything's there. All the chrome's there. It's just a really nice.
So it's all original?
Yep.
Okay, so that we have a game. We have a game that we play for.
Is the color original?
Yeah, he said it's all original.
Okay, well, but that doesn't mean.
Don't tell us the color yet.
Don't tell us the color. Is it still the original color?
No,
See?
that it is not.
People don't think when they say original, they don't think that.
Chris, I thought I had this guy pegged that he was telling me everything with simple answers, but I was wrong.
Well, you were asking questions that you were asking a different
I was sneaking
question.
up on it.
Yeah.
I didn't want him to give it away, so I was sneaking up on the question.
So now we're all going to guess what color it is.
It's white.
White?
It's black.
I think it's like that cream off-white color.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
I do, but that's...
not white. I'll
Okay.
say not white, but I'll go with cream.
You remember, he's in Arizona.
Yeah. Don, what color is
I
it?
do live on Route 66, which
Oh.
is a hot rod town, basically. Keep that in mind.
I would, if you told me Route 66, Arizona, in the heat, I'd think it's bright red, but I'm still going with black.
You're good. No, it's bright red with flames on it.
Look at this.
I can picture the car.
That's the coolest
But
answer.
I said black, so I'm stuck with black.
There's no cooler answer.
And you are so jealous.
Yes.
He was just talking about Route 66 here on a text string.
Yeah.
Well, it didn't string very long. You were trying to get one going, but we didn't play.
Yeah, exactly.
I can picture that car. It's awesome. Is it a little lower in the back than the front?
It is now I did a complete airbag suspension on it,
so he can set that
so
rake how he wants
you
it.
You can do whatever you want.
It's like the movie
it'll
Grease.
lay on the ground, or it'll. Yeah, exactly.
Can you picture it, Chris?
Absolutely, I can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we did a 57 Caddy.
We're going to get copyrighted.
Street rod.
Not my singing.
And, you can't imagine what they flagged.
Like, yeah, no, we didn't get it. Don, thanks very much for the call.
No, Russ was just telling a story. Now,
go.
are you trying to get off
No,
before they catch us?
I'm just telling Don, go ahead.
The DeVille we did was a big, huge car. This one is older. It's a little smaller. The hot rod, the DeVille we had was just that was an Eldorado.
Yeah.
That was a monster
It
compared to
looked
this one.
like a monster. It looked like a monster in a movie that would come eat you. The one you guys did.
Yeah.
And we took a Caddy engine out of the car for
for
Richard
Gas
Rawlings.
Monkey Garage.
Yeah.
Yeah, we took that one had a Cadillac. That had a 500 Cadillac in it, and
That's
that
what he
was
had in it.
In the Impala, in their green Impala, and then we put that
6-liter LQ4
6
in there.
liter Cadillac engine in it.
Or did we put LQ9 or LQ4
It was
in
an LQ9 out of a Cadillac Escalade that
Yeah.
we put in there to run it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's
I just when you said 500 Cadillac, 'cause I remember the exhaust. Did they have try to put a turbo on it or something, or did they? Well, it had some big exhaust pipes.
No, that was
was that the factory pipes?
That was the factory.
They were all
exhaust.
wrapped in exhaust tape and
Didn't have flames though.
exhaust cloth or whatever.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Don, thanks very much for the call. 866-594-4150. Let's talk to John. You're on the End of the Hood Show. John, what can we do for you?
Well, love the show, guys. Thanks for the help.
Thank you for listening.
Yeah, you bet. I have a 2009 Jetta with a 2.5 5-cylinder engine and an automatic. It's my daily driver, run around town, and it's a solid rig. It works well, doesn't burn any oil, etc. This winter, when I started in the morning, most of the time, it doesn't go to high idle. It just goes to low idle, and sometimes runs real rough for a little bit, and then it smooths out. Usually, when I started, it goes to high idle, and then over a minute or two, it'll go down. And when it's warm, it does that. But when it's cold in the morning, it doesn't do it. I wonder what I'm looking at here.
The first thing we looked at in a shop, if I was looking for a car that didn't idle up properly.
What temperatures did it say it is?
Yeah. What is that temperature? I'm going to scan it and see, and maybe it's got a bad temperature sensor. It just can't, it warms up properly, but at the low end, it can't drop as low as it needs to go.
So you want to look on a scanner to see what the computer says the temperature is, not what the temperature is.
Right. And if the throttle body is actually working, when I look at the steps on that, is it completely closed because there's a failure in that throttle body, or is it opening properly? Does that need to be adjusted? Because if the temp's proper and the throttle body's working, then I got a computer issue, and there might be some programming issue that needs to be gone through there as well. But they only idle up so high. They don't go too far. They want to keep them as low and as close to a fully warmed up idle as they can without the engine stalling, if that makes sense. So if the engine won't stall, there's some cars that do not increase their idle at all when they're cold, because they can control the fuel just perfectly and they'll idle smooth, and they'll take off and drive. Drivability is fine. They want to keep them as smooth as possible because a lot of people don't like the high RPM when they first start. So they're getting better at it.
Right. Well, it's always gone to high idle.
Yeah, there you go. If it did and now it doesn't, then there's definitely something to look for.
Step one is, what is that computer? What data is there when it starts? Because there's two different parameters of engine management that happen: the startup phase, and then the drivability down the road phase, and they're different, and they've got to be able to switch between the two of them.
Does that help you out there, John?
You bet. Thanks.
Thanks very much for the call. 866-594-4150.
We have an event taking place at the facility here at Nordstrom's 2.0 this Saturday.
Okay.
We have an entrepreneurs conference. It'll be the third annual entrepreneurs conference. It'll be at 9:30 in the morning to 12:30, and it's being led by Tom Stammen of Impact Ministries International. Tom also is a very gifted minister, but he will bring together folks that are in business, that are entrepreneurs, and everybody kind of gets up that's there and gives a little 10, 15-minute nugget, and you can learn from each other and interact with each other, and it's always a good time, and Tom's got a lot of enterprise going in his city of refuge he'll tell us about and see what his newest endeavor is. I don't know when the guy sleeps, but that'll be here at Nordstrom's 2.0 in the country, and it'll be this Saturday. We're normally not open on our full-service business on Saturday, so this is a little bit of a logistics thing to keep people out of the front lobby that want to buy parts.
Oh, yeah.
But it's the time that works the best. But 9:30 to 12:30, Nordstrom's 2.0 in the country, Entrepreneurs Conference. You're welcome. There's no fee. If you do want to bring tithes to help Tom out with his ministry, that's more than welcome, but not necessary. And so thought I'd mention that as
well. Oh yeah, because the website's down.
Well, just you can't. It's getting crashed.
Right.
I mean, everybody's crashing to the end, making their changes, doing what they do.
Wow.
What time's game one?
11:15 is what my young guys in the shop told me.
You're not getting
in.
You're not getting in.
I love a deadline.
Try it.
I'm doing it right now.
Okay, let's see.
I might run downstairs and use my real computer, but no, I can do it right here. Let's see. I got to find my invite from Nick.
Because
I just found out this morning they're holding out on me that they had a bracket pool going and nobody told the boss. I was like,
I thought they sent an email.
I know, I didn't read it
a while ago.
There's nothing as exciting as March Madness bracket talk while he's trying to fill out the bracket.
Well, I've had so much going on the last few days. A bracket was the last thing on my mind, but then like anything else, once I heard that there was a bracket, then it became a thing. Then it was like a deal. I was like, now I got to get my bracket filled out. So,
you do that.
Look at this thing spin. I'm trying to.
Can you go put it on paper quick?
No,
you're out.
It won't work. They're not going to manage it that way. They want to use the tools.
Let's take a call.
I miss a few first games, and I'll still win maybe.
Oh yeah, can they just discount the ones you didn't
if you
get?
can't guess those games, you can't get them in there.
They're just losses.
Yeah. Something opened up here. Visit pool. Let's see what happens here.
We're going to take this call.
Yeah.
Hi, who's this?
This is Chase.
Chase, you're on the Under the Hood show. What can we do for you?
I got a 2011 F350, and a couple weeks ago I took it through the car wash, and on the way home I noticed that the auto track came on and the alarms went on, and then it would go off immediately, and then it'd come back on, and then the brake system light would go on and it'd come off, and it'd go back on again and it'd go off, and it just do that almost constantly for a while. And then a few days later it would go on when I'd start the truck, and it would just stay on and all the lights would be on the dash. But I definitely don't have ABS anymore when that's happening. And if I get underneath there while it's running, I'm, wiggling wires, ABS connectors and stuff like that for the sensors. I can't get it to duplicate it, but if I'm driving down the road, they'll go on and off and on and off and on and off and on and off. And it sounds like I'm jackpotting in a casino, but it's annoying.
Just remember, I'm not listening over here at all. I'm completely not listening. So Russ, you're solo, which is typically what goes on anything.
What a weird thing to interject.
I'm just telling you, because Russ was looking at me like if I was going to answer, like, nope, I have no clue. We're on the after show, right?
Yeah, but I don't. Just be quiet.
I felt,
just be quiet. Go ahead, Russ.
Yeah,
I'm turning the mic. Your mic's off.
Whatever. We all lose our ABS as we get older. Usually it's from all the restaurants and
I lose my filter.
fast food. And
Your mic is not on. Stop talking.
okay.
Do your bracket. Okay. He's got this. He's at the casino winning the jackpot, except it doesn't feel like a
ding,
winner.
ding, 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 ding. ABS, track off. Yeah, I think you've got an ABS sensor that's failing. It's broken down enough that going through that car wash got moisture in the sensor, and that's causing it to fail. And then you're not going to get the moisture back out of it very easily. And by the time it does come out, it's probably going to corrode inside of there, and it's going to give an issue. So we plug the scanner in and see which sensor it shows us as having the issue. And it's a lot of the times we see that it seems to be the right rear. I don't know why the right rear is worse than the driver's side, but you got a 50-50 shot. It's going to be the rear, most likely. And when it is, it's usually the right for some reason. But if you check it, see which one of those is giving you that code and put on, because that's going to give you multiple things. It can give you ABS, traction, reduced throttle, because it can't see that, it thinks a wheel's slipping, so it wants to turn the traction control on and cause the throttle to be reduced. Check engine light. All sorts of weird stuff can come up. Service steering.
Let's assume, Chase, you've washed the truck before, and have you washed it at this car wash before?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It's my favorite car wash.
Then why did it happen this time?
Because it's old.
I know it.
It's because it's old.
Okay.
It's just one of those things that they, certain parts as they get older, they do it. I don't know. I get everybody. Do you have a favorite car wash, Chris? Because I think I've got a new one now that's my favorite.
The one you broke?
The one I broke. No, it is a Blue Tide, but not the one I broke. They should learn about that. Don't tell people to, hit your brake like this. You get a heavy enough vehicle, it'll stop. But something's wrong with that one. The thing's been broken like 5 or 6 times, and they only had it open like 2 weeks, so something's wrong. The other one's much older and it doesn't break.
But I think everybody has their favorite car wash, kind of.
I did have to get a new license plate. Speaking of brackets, that Shannon's filling out one over there. I had to get a bracket to go. It says Under the Hood Show on it, but it goes around my front plate.
Sure.
Because the old car wash I used to go to would always bend it to the right. Well, this one would bend it to the left. So I just got a new heavy-duty Under the Hood Show license plate frame, and it doesn't bend it either way. I'm like, fix that. But
does that help you out there, Chase?
Oh, yeah. Thanks, guys.
You bet. Thanks very
Great
much.
Great show today, by the way.
Thanks.
Hey, thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thanks very much for the call, too.
I can talk again now?
Yeah.
I still am not getting anywhere.
I had that issue, and I had to explain that one time we were getting out of my car, and the front license plate was all bent. And I said, it happens on the car wash. And I bent it back. I said, I got to get a bracket because it bends. And my son had this look on his face that was hard to explain. I couldn't quite fathom it. It was guilt, relief, regret, all built into one.
Because he knew he bent it.
Because he
one time
hit something once and thought that he had bent the license plate, and he thought he was a dead man. And he didn't tell me anything about hitting anything, and it turns out he didn't think he hit it that bad. It was just a bump, and it was, and the license plate was bent for another reason, but he thought he had bent the license plate and possibly broken the car, and when I explained to it what it was one of those, like an adrenaline dump. He was just like, it's been a rough 8 months or whatever it was. He was just scared to death that he had wrecked it and done something. He was waiting for a sensor to go bad or something, and when he found out that it happened all the time in the car wash, it was like I'd given him another gift.
I was at the DMV a couple years ago getting license plates, and when I got them, there was somebody standing in front, and I was watching them to the left of me in that line as you go through the county one, and they were getting them, and she's holding up this plate, and there's a third of it broken off, and she's like, I need a new one. She's trying to explain. She's like, ma'am, I understand it. We'll get you a plate. But no, you don't. I went to the car where it bends it, and then my son bends it back, and it just broke up. She's like, ma'am, this happens all the time. We'll get you another plate. Don't worry about it. But she had to keep. So obviously this is a big thing, and those things are so thin now.
Yeah.
You bend them back, and they're like, mine is starting to crack. But I put the cover on it, and it's not a cover because those aren't legal. But frame. Now those frames, it's something you got to think about. If you don't want to be stopped and you're not a person who normally gets stopped and you put a frame around your license plate, make sure that they can read what state it's from and read the expiration tags. Because a lot of times these frames you get, even ones from the dealers where they say, this giant automotive dealer, and it advertises for them, it covers up the top. You can't read the state.
The tags oftentimes on the bottom.
The tags, all you can read is the number.
I'm picking now. I'm in there.
That's not legal. And so I don't care what you do. If you want to do that, do it. But, if you're thinking I don't want to get pulled over when I don't, and you probably won't, but hey, they might be the day where they're going, hey, I can't read your plate. It's going to be one of those days I'm going to do it, and you might be having a bad day, and it could be expensive for you. So
I had the thought recently, I was looking at an auction, and they had a bunch of license plates. Back to like the 20s.
Those are
20s
expensive.
And 30s. Yeah, and I thought, they're not going to have license plates from the 2023 in 50 years. Those things are not going to last and be nailed to a wall in a garage.
No.
And last that long.
So though there's a market for the older ones, because in our state, at least, for me, I've got a 25 Model T. I found an original set of South Dakota tan and black 1925 plates.
Nice.
I bought them, put them on my truck. I had to take them both in to show them I had, because you need front and rear, and you take them in and they register that number to your vehicle, and they're permanent. You don't ever have to get a tag for them or anything, because it's a historic, an antique vehicle. So now I have 1925 plates on my 1925 truck, and I don't ever have to pay a license fee. But it's you're only supposed to drive it like 200 miles a year. I'm like, I'd be lucky if I get 10 out of that a year. But that's cool to see those. But the price, I think I paid $400 for the pair of them, and they're not perfect. Ooh. They're okay. Now, there's a place in California that would restore them to 100% original, but they wanted like $400 to do 2 plates to clean them up. And so no. And they told me, no, you can't repaint your own plates. You have to have them, they have to be all original. But
you could do it.
I don't think they're ever going to, they don't care. As long as the number matches the number they have on file, if they ever stopped you, who would care? But those plates, you're right, Chris, you see the old stamped plates were great. Mm-hmm. And those look cool to see on walls, but the ones we have are printed.
I was reading about some states have stickers now you can do where the actual plate itself is a sticker. Yeah. So you can stick it to the bumper instead of having to, like if you have a vehicle where you can't put a bracket on it or.
So I do know for a fact that in Texas, they have an inspection sticker and they have a registration sticker. So as you drive through like a toll booth or past an officer that has a scanner on the car, they can scan that barcode and know if the car is registered, and it's supposed to match the plate. You wouldn't even need the plate. The plate is more of a thing that's there just so if there was a crime committed, a citizen could say, I read the plate number, and this is the plate number to find the car. But they don't need that. They scan that barcode on the thing, and who knows, maybe we'll be a day where we don't have license plates at all. So something else came up that maybe Shannon's heard about. He's in his brackets.
Yeah, I'm done. I just finished. That was the quickest.
Have you heard? So they're running an ad. They're running an ad for Michigan on our national afternoon shows, those big political shows you hear. And it's on our local station. So I'm hearing it's a Michigan ad talking about EVs and stuff like that. But something caught my attention out of it. And they're talking about charging stations and the green. But the one thing that caught, they said, and our new wireless in-road charging systems. You guys heard a word about that yet?
Nope.
That technology intrigues me. How they're going to power it, who knows? But the technology, we know cell phones, we can charge them with those little inductive pads. If you had in-road charging on the major roads, let's say every interstate around the country, they're not too far off whatever road you're on. So if you just took a little trip down the interstate and it recharged your car, I can't imagine they could ever power that. But if you could, you wouldn't have a range issue. Your car would never run out of fuel. And then what would the cost be? How do you charge for that?
We're going to have little nuclear EVs.
I don't know, but whatever it is, that's weird. But that intrigued me. I didn't know if anybody Somebody email me a link if they've heard about that. Might be looking that up this weekend just to see how that's done.
All right, let's take a call. I was waiting for my computer to spool back up because I gave Doug the sign that I had shut down the computer for calls. And he did not read that. I think you took it the exact opposite because I realized my motion afterwards was not the best. So let's do this and go. Let's go to Virginia and talk to Gene. You're on the End of the Hood Show. Gene, what can we do for you?
All right. My vehicle is a 2013 Silverado with a 4.3 liter engine, and I'm trying to track down a clicking, rattling type sound. Now, I used to work at an automotive shop, and so for trying to find exhaust leaks around the engine, we would use about a 3-foot chunk of air hose. So I took that air hose, and I'm listening at the front of the engine for the passenger side behind the water pump, close to the timing cover, and I'm hearing just a little click and rattle at an idle. When I was just a little bit ago, I parked beside a building, and I put it in gear and revved the engine up, and the frequency of that clicking seemed to reduce. It wasn't as often under pressure. Let it go back to an idle, and the frequency increased. Is there something with the timing chain, let's say an adjuster or something in there that could possibly be what's happening?
Isn't that where the oil pump is at, Russ?
It's in the front cover. So your noise could be coming from the oil pump. It could be coming from the timing chain, and that has no tensioner in there.
No, it doesn't.
Not on the 5.3. But it could be coming from a chain that's loose.
That's not common, though, is it?
No, not to make a noise.
I mean, we see those things getting pulled out of our self-servers with 300,000 miles on them, and people are using it for LS swaps.
Yeah,
until they blow them up.
Yeah, exactly, and they go. But I would first thing I would do.
This is a 4.3. This is a V6.
Okay,
I don't know. That
same setup, just 2 cylinders shorter.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, so on a 4.3, not a 5.3. But I'd pull the belts off of it and see if the noise goes away, because they do have some tensioner noise on some of those sometimes, and they can give you a little click at idle, but not when you give it gas. So start by doing that to isolate it to inside of the engine. By just pull the belt off, run it, and see if it still does it. And the other thing could be, unless you've already looked at that area, it could be the exhaust manifold leaking on the bottom side of the manifold up towards the front and causing that click. And then you give it a little gas, and it heats up the exhaust just enough to seal it up because it's really tiny. That can make some noise there too. There's no camshaft, variable valve time, or there is no active fuel management in there to shut off cylinders on that 6-cylinder, so you don't have to worry about that problem occurring. I think my first step would be pop that belt off and see if it stops.
Okay, I will do that. Yeah, I listen real carefully along the exhaust manifold. It's not an exhaust manifold type leak. This is like a metal to metal, tapping type noise. So, all right, I'll pull the belt and listen. I appreciate it.
If it does that, then grab the tensioner and move it back and forth just slightly and see if it clicks as you move it.
Gene, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. All right, that'll. I think that'll.
I got to just back up for myself to ask Russ a question.
Okay.
Sometimes I just catch myself just watching him answer the question, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
4.3, does that still have an oil pump in the front cover?
No, it's in the pan.
It's in the pan. Yeah.
Yeah, that one's in the pan underneath.
Yeah. So I just, I just when you hear an 06 Silverado, you just assume it's going to be a 5.3. I mean, we just went right down that road without even thinking.
That's the new 4.3. I think it's in the front cover. That's the same as the 5.3.
Yeah, I just didn't know what generation that would be. But, I just trying to help myself keep on top of things. I did get my bracket done.
Good. Great.
Whew.
We were super concerned.
Yeah. No, you weren't.
No.
And you shouldn't have been.
No one
cares
cares
about your bracket.
No one cares about anyone else's bracket.
Or their fantasy football team.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. There's nothing worse than saying, "Oh, I hope I got this guy in this game. He's on my fantasy team." Just shut up. I mean, you can play it. It's fine. But no one wants to hear it.
I will not look at this bracket again until the tournament's over.
Till you collect your money?
Probably.
Yeah.
No, I don't sit there and monitor, but I like to have one out there and play.
Do you do this? I did the last time I did a bracket, I did this for 2 weeks. I think I got that upset. I think I picked that one, yeah.
This will be.
Sounds great in theory.
Is it a car?
I
Is
get
it a
that.
truck?
I'm picking F-150. That's what somebody commented on the show the other day. Is this under the F-150 hood? And I wanted to reply and go, usually it's pretty much.
Depends on the show, yeah.
It is weird how things come in bunches.
Hey, if Ford wants to sponsor the show, I could use a new F-350 dually or even an F-250. You could just
as near as I can tell, we had one F-150 call today.
And a 750.
Yeah, and a 750.
Yeah,
First
they don't get
750
those
call
very-
for.
And a 350. That last one on the after show was a 350.
I didn't even hear that.
I looked up that 90, was it a 71 F-750?
Yep.
That thing looks like it's 100 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it looks like a big F-250 with huge truck wheels
It
underneath
looks like a 50s truck more than a 70s truck even.
I'd agree with that.
You know, it's definitely.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
3 Sierras and a Colorado for the Chevy lines. Got a Toyota, Volkswagen, a Kia, a Jeep, a Dodge, and those are cars, except for the Jeep, of course. Chevy Impala. Yeah, all sorts of. Oh, there's 4. There's another Silverado in the after show.
There you go.
They'd be a close second to F-150, Silverados and Sierras.
Well, it's because they're like the most popular thing. You look
Mhm.
around and every drive, a chicken in every pot, a Silverado or F-150 in every driveway.
We get a lot of Ram questions too, though.
Yes.
There's a lot of Ram truck
trucks.
questions.
People I think they like bigger, bulkier. You see women and men both driving bigger, bulkier trucks.
For sure.
I have to say the fewest questions on full-size trucks we get, and now equally they've all been out since 07, the new Tundra.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Yep.
the one we get the least questions on.
You know,
You're right. We get, yeah.
you want to see something different, though. We live in the Midwest. Even in the South, it's trucks. When I go out to the West Coast to visit, you get west of the mountain, it's cars everywhere. The trucks, I see way more cars than trucks, and there's a lot of Prius. There's a lot of these gas-saving cars. Well, it's that part of the country. And you get way out east, I see the same thing. But you get into the areas where there's more farming and utilities. Boy, everybody's driving a car, even if you don't need a truck. I mean, they're driving trucks because even if you don't need a truck, you're driving one. Like down in Texas, you're driving a truck because you're a truck person.
That is one of my favorite things about driving. Like when I've driven, like when I
What you
drove to
see.
Florida last year, I saw a bunch of cars that I haven't seen in years up here.
Oh, the older ones?
Preludes and
Yeah.
a couple Mercurs, the X4 Ti.
Still
Yep.
cruising.
Exorati.
Yeah, Exorati. Yeah. So many that.
Yeah, if the bodies don't
Yeah.
rust out, they keep them going. An old mechanic will pull a motor out, and you can still buy parts and rebuild them yourself and keep them going.
There is a Prelude somewhere around here. I've seen it a couple times, and I can't even give you the color because it's multiple colors, and it looks like if we had inspections, it wouldn't be on the road, but it is there. I like to see it every now and
And
then.
if you open the hood, the guy's probably got a major tuner motor in it.
Yeah, it's probably.
I think I know who's you're talking about. I
Gun me
think
off
that's
the
one
line.
of Joey's cars.
It's I love doing that. I love when you get out on the road and go, huh?
You probably take off, and it's probably a 9-second car.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Look, if he's got a helmet in the seat next to him, don't.
And look at the seat belts.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly.
Yeah, those old cars are cool to see them, and
Mhm.
when you go on those, and then there's plenty of new ones too. But yeah, you see old ones running around. The weather's better, and they don't rot so
You
fast.
can't get very far in a car where we are with holes in the floor. You kind of can't do much with that for most of the year. Whereas you see cars, down in Florida where Oscar is, there's some cars you're like, huh, that is, yep, the lights went on. Huh, I wouldn't have thought that was going to happen.
We're seeing a few more of those older ones here because we've got people moving in from other states that have moved across country and they had that kind of car, and they're moving here for economy savings, stuff like that. So we may see a few more.
They're
of those
moving here
cars.
so their car doesn't get stolen.
Yeah, right.
Right.
That'd be the
They want to
Kia-
keep. They
the
want to
Kia
keep their
people,
car.
All the Kia people and move here so they don't get their car stolen. There's plenty of car theft here too.
We just had a lady here that they're a customer that bought a lot of stuff, and they bought a 16 Kia Sportage from us, and they haven't had it very long. And somebody tried to steal it here over in Minnesota, just across the border, not too far, a little further past your city there.
You need a club.
My brother has a club. His insurance.
I told her about that very thing.
His insurance company, after the second time it got stolen, his insurance company sent him a club.
Yeah.
And not like a club type modern, a club. It's a club. And
the club, the brand name club.
yeah. And he got it from them and they said, here, use this. Okay.
Paul Harvey used to promote the heck out of that. It was huge. I mean, every episode, it seemed like you heard it. And the reason for it was back in the early 80s, every car was like a Kia. A dead blow hammer, get in the car, smash the ignition, off you went. It wasn't that hard until they really got more sophisticated with the locking wheels and all that kind of stuff. And now, how a car company got away with making these cars that had no security on them, and all you had to do was bust the top off the ignition and turn it with anything. It's been on every national news. It's been on YouTube everywhere, and it's so dumb that they would have that. You would think they would have said,
those Hondas, Russ,
here's
that
a
are always,
recall.
that when we used to do the top stolen list, they're always on the list.
Mhm.
They're the same way. It just doesn't hit. It never got the national
No.
coverage because of YouTube.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you're right.
Everything is out there for everybody
Like
to
a
see.
90 Accord was the most stolen car forever.
Yep. Yeah, it's just one of those things. So
That's why I'm getting a 71 F750. You don't hear about those getting stolen, do you? When's the last time you saw a stolen?
That would be very easy to
F750?
steal. But what are you going to do with it?
Right.
Yeah.
Where are you going to hide?
Like somebody
Call the
stolen a tank.
Someone
headed down
stole my
Highway
truck.
9.
Any idea where they went? It sounds like they're about a quarter mile away on the left.
I can hear them.
Oh, it just backfired. They're over there now.
All right, that's going to do it for the after show. Thanks, everybody. Subscribe, like. We should say that earlier instead of at the very end.
Well, we're just about ready to pass 6,000 subscribers. So thank you, everybody. That's pretty
I thought
cool.
we did.
No, we're
Did we
just
lose any?
no. We were. That was when we were passing 4,000.
Oh, okay. I don't pay attention
But when
enough.
we started out the show,
Oh, we are close.
We've been on YouTube for
Okay,
like.
somebody's got to go call their grandma or somebody to tell them to subscribe to get us over
Yeah.
the top.
Well, we were at like 1,200 subscribers after the show had been. Well, after our channel had been up for like 12 years.
We just never did anything with it.
There was a few videos. We really didn't do anything. But then we started doing this on there, and not everybody's going to sit down for an hour or 2 hours and watch this show when they're listening on podcast. And we got 500,000 that are listening on podcast and radio and all that. Thank you. We appreciate that. But if you want to watch on YouTube, we're gaining a following on YouTube that never listens on the radio or podcast.
Yep.
There's a whole different group that they never heard about the show before, so they didn't take away from anything else. They just
Now they make their appointment on YouTube when they want to do it.
they sit
Just like a podcast.
They sit at work. So hey, if you want to waste some time at work, if you're bored and you don't like what you're doing, please set your
I would
computer.
encourage
every
you to
week.
buy a second or third monitor at your computer at home if you work from home.
Yeah.
And just set that one over there on the Under the Hood show.
Yep.
There you go.
Just let that play. That's what my wife does in the background when we're on. She
Let it run at night, all night long, just on a loop of all our videos.
Listen, the chances are very good you have between 1 and 4 old laptops. You can use one of them.
I've got 4 in a drawer.
Yeah.
This is number 5 right here.
Exactly. You can just set
I don't
one
wanna
up
answer that
just to
question.
be
And
used.
this one's 2 or 3 years old. I bought it and was going to transfer stuff, and I'm like, the old one's still working. And then one day it glitched, and I went, I better get that done quickly.
Yeah. How many old laptops you got?
7.
Yeah. I think
I still have my first one that I bought from Gateway, and I paid
They were so heavy.
$4,400 for it.
yeah.
And I was going to use it as this ultimate business tool.
Yeah.
Did not ever get to that point. But I took it with me on trips and tried to act like I knew what I was doing
Right.
with it.
I got a PDA for notes. I've still got it. I've got a box in my garage.
With the stylus?
With
You
all,
have a
yeah,
little-
with all
Hey,
my.
on the corner of my
It's a Sony.
credenza downstairs is my palm with the first one with the keypad on the bottom.
Yeah. So I put
Slide
all
up?
my
Oh, the
phones
palm.
in a
Yeah.
in a glass,
Not
like
the
one of those
pre.
display cases, the shadow box
Yeah.
display case. I put all my from my first phone. Well, I don't have the bag phone in there, but everything else.
That would be fun. I
They're
didn't know you
they're
did
just
that.
all in there for fun. Plus the old Garmin GPS, which is now in my phone.
Yeah.
and the PDA is in there. The whole thing. It's just
neat
to look
You
at.
should take a picture of that and put it on our Facebook page.
I could.
That's kind of cool.
Use your phone to do it.
I'll use my phone.
Yeah.
To do it. Yeah.
All right. Thanks,
They've come
everybody.
a long way.